Okay, let's talk about finding an apartment in Germany. Finding an apartment is one of the most essential steps that you have to take when you first arrive in Germany. One, for obvious reasons, you need a place to stay. Everyone does, and so do you. And a second reason, though, is that getting a place and then having an official place where you officially are registered, where the city knows that you live in that place, is a very crucial information document to have because with it you can only apply for any resident permit, bank account, get a SIM card, a phone contract, and those kinds of things. So getting a place to live is the key to getting a lot of other things that you need for your life in Germany. So finding a place is a really crucial step and also sometimes one of the more challenging steps, especially if you are still outside of Germany and you're looking for a place in Germany to stay when you first arrive and then when you first come here. So there are different options on where to stay, how to find a place, how to go about it, and what you get, what you can do with them, what you cannot do with them, and what the best options are in that area for you. The first option would be to find a flat for yourself. So you are looking for a place in the city that you're going to and you want to rent it out yourself for your own. That is the most general idea that people have about getting an apartment because you want to have a place for your own most of the time. And getting one in Germany, if you've never lived in Germany, and especially if you're coming from the outside, is while being the most comfortable solution, if you get it, not always the easiest solution to have. That is for a multitude of reasons. Number one, there is generally a shortage of apartments, affordable apartments in bigger cities and also university cities. So if you move to a bigger city or if you move to a city that is very popular with students, finding an apartment just for yourself that you can afford is difficult in the first place because there are less, and if you find one, you have a lot of competition. If you are still outside of Germany and there are other people applying for an apartment, you will most likely not get it because you cannot go there in person and have a viewing in person, and the landlord or the real estate agent who is taking care of it cannot have an idea of who you are. So any type of apartment is given away after a personal viewing. So you have to go there in person and look at the place and introduce yourself, hand over the paperwork. So finding a place for your own while still outside of Germany is impossible. If you're in Germany, you have the advantage that you can actually go to the place in person and introduce yourself. Then there comes the second challenge that people often have when they come to Germany from outside for the first time and they never lived here is the paperwork. So there are different documents that landlords and real estate agents want to see when giving someone a flat. One would be the proof of income. So if you have any income, any work contracts, bank statement, those kinds of things. That is oftentimes still doable because if you come to Germany for work, you do have a work contract which says with how much money you will make. It gets a little tougher when you are a student or when you are self-employed or a freelancer. Of course, you can always print out bank statements and things like this, but maybe some people would be a bit more cautious about giving you the place then because it doesn't seem as stable as having a job that actually says how much money you will be earning. And then there are some other documents that are very German specific. So one would be the Schufa-Auskunft. Schufa is a private company that keeps track of all the credit ratings of all the people in Germany, which sounds a little weird, probably is even, but that's the case actually. There's a private company that keeps track of your credit rating, and you can get your personal rating printed out and bring it to the flat viewing so that shows that have a good credit score. That means that for people who want to give you a flat, that there's a little risk of you not paying your rent. So having a Schufa is most of the time mandatory by landlords. If you have no financial history and you don't even have a bank account in Germany yet, that is super tough. So it's kind of a chicken and egg problem with those things because you need a bank account to get a Schufa, but to get a bank account you need a registered address, and to get a registered address you need a place to live, and you don't get a place to live because you don't have the Schufa. So this is kind of a circle of issues right there that is tough to solve in the beginning, oftentimes. And next to the Schufa, you also have things like Mietschulden, Freiheitsbestätigung, which is a nice German word. Basically means that it's a confirmation of past landlords or your latest landlord that you lived with or in whose apartment you lived in. That is confirming that you have no outstanding debts with him, that you've always paid your rent, and there are no rents you have not paid yet. So this is a kind of a confirmation from the last landlord for the now possible future landlord that you as a person are a reliable tenant of a flat and there are no issues with you paying your rent. This is uh, maybe sometimes more doable than the Schufa. Sometimes it's a little weird though because other countries might not have it and landlords you might not have a contact to them or they don't know what it is. Usually a blank written statement saying I the name hereby confirm that person X does not have any outstanding rents with me and the person has lived in my apartment from this point to this point. So there's no official format, but you need to have something to present. And then this is something that is not super difficult sometimes, but still a little challenge if you're not from Germany, not used to doing that. So you can see that there are some challenges when it comes to finding a place in Germany. However, if it is doable, then it's a great option to do. Something you have to consider then if you get a place, you are responsible to getting the internet and getting electricity and water contracts in place. I mean, the places will have water and electricity already going, but you need to have a contract in place so that you are billed monthly. And there's a lot of things that you have to take care of when you get a place for your own. And that can be sometimes a little overwhelming, especially if you arrive to a place freshly new to Germany. So that can be a little much. However, if you want to find a place for yourself, there are plenty of online not job, flat real estate portals where you can look up flats, apartments in your area or in the area that you want to move in. The second option is to live in shared housing. This is a place where multiple people live in one apartment. They share the apartment. Everyone has their own room, and then you share kitchen, living room, bathroom, and those kinds of things. In Germany, this is called WG, and WG stands for Wohngemeinschaft, so it's kind of a living community. This is super popular with students because mostly students go to cities where they cannot afford a place on their own, so they share a flat with friends of them or new people they don't know yet, and then they become friends with them and they all split the rent equally amongst themselves. So this is a super popular option with students, by far the number one option for students, and also for professionals in cities. This is also more and more attractive because, like I said, the housing market in cities can be a little tough, challenging, and rents are rising. So people who maybe do not spend as much time in their places anyways decide to share a place with people to decrease the rent. And then also if you move into a place where people are already living, you don't have to take care of the internet, getting electricity and water and those contracts set up. So it's less hassle. You just have to have an agreement between you and the main tenant mostly. So there's one main tenant in the apartment that has agreements with the other people living there, and the main tenant has the agreement with the landlord. So any new person usually does not need to have an agreement with the landlord on top of that. So that's a nice, neat option, especially if you are new in a city and you don't know any people. So that's a great way to get to know people. And a great advantage of living in a shared flat like this is that you can officially register with the city. So getting the official registration at the citizens office, the Einwohnermeldeamt, is super important because that's a document you need for a residence permit and a bank account and those kinds of things, because it shows that you actually have a place in which you live in. So you are able to get this registration or the confirmation that you live in a place and a shared flat as well. It is something that your landlord signs or the main tenant signs, and you then take it and get the official registration from the city. And this is also possible, of course, if you live in a flat for yourself. Then you get the official confirmation that you live in a place from your landlord. You take this and then you go to the citizen's office and you get the official registration there. So this is a great advantage of living in a shared flat, is that you can not only meet new people, have less of a hassle with setting up stuff, you can also then get the registration at the city done while living in the shared flat. A third option would be to live in a hotel. This is something that is easy for some reasons. It is easily doable. You can find a room. You have a place to stay in the beginning. You don't have to worry about setting up any internet or anything like this. Everything is taken care of. It gives you time to breathe, to relax, to set yourself up in the city. The drawbacks, of course, are that you cannot really afford it because hotels are probably the most expensive option you can have for accommodation. So you will be running out of money probably very quickly when you come to Germany and you rely on hotels the whole time. And you cannot get the registration done at the city if you live in a hotel because it's not a permanent address. So that is not possible. So you are blocked on some other options in your life in Germany, like getting your residence permit. So hotel is a good option for the beginning if you haven't found anything else yet. So you just have a place to stay. So in that case, take a hotel. Option number 4 would be to get a hostel room. So hostel basically is a minimum version of a hotel. It doesn't have a lot of things that a hotel has. Room service, rooms for yourself, nice rooms. It's more stripped down. You oftentimes share a room with many different people, as strangers. In fact, you can also find ones where you get private rooms. They are usually a lot cheaper than hotels. That's why they are popular with people. It is basically the same advantages like a hotel. You at least have a place to stay in the beginning, so you don't have to sleep on the street. You have a place where you can put your stuff and maybe take care of some other things. At the same time, you cannot really afford it for a long period of time. You don't have any stable living situation living in a hostel room with other people, and you cannot get a registration with the city from there either. So that is kind of out of the window as well. But for the beginning, it's a good flexible solution as well. Number 5 is to rent an apartment in student housing. So if you are a student, you are eligible to get a room in a student housing complex of your university, in case your university has one. But most bigger universities do have student housing, so it's a shared flat where you live and other people also live, or other students also live in the same flat. Everyone has their own room, and you share a kitchen and living room and things like this. The advantage is that you live oftentimes close to campus. You get to know new people that are also studying at your university, so you get integrated. You have a permanent place where you can stay. You don't have to worry about setting up internet and water and electricity and those kinds of things. They're oftentimes already taken care of. Rent is relatively low in comparison to most options, so this is also a great advantage. And you can register at the city while living at a student housing. So it's considered a official permanent residence of yours, so you can go to the city and get the official registration and then take this to do all the other things that you need the registration for. One disadvantage of student housing is that it is very popular with students, especially international students who arrive in Germany, and that is why the waiting list for student housing can be very long. In some cases, the waiting list for student housing is longer than your program will take. So there are cases where you will wait longer for a place in the student housing than your bachelor program takes. So in that case, you have to apply early, but you can only apply when you have the official acceptance and you're officially enrolled at the university. So this is a great option if there are spaces available and you can get them immediately. If you're a student, I would consider this absolutely one of the number one options. It's very easy, it's convenient, and it gives you a nice place to stay in the very early beginning. If you have to wait for a longer period of time, you definitely then should check out other accommodation options in the vicinity, in the in the near environment of the university as well. Number 6, you can live in a serviced apartment. So a serviced apartment is an apartment just for yourself that you sort of rent out, that is already furnished and has everything. You can be there for as long as you want to, and there is nothing that you have to actually do. You have it for yourself, and oftentimes there's a cleaning service that takes care of the apartment, so it's nice and clean and everything. The advantage is that you have a place. You have a place for yourself. You can be there for as long as you want. There's no hassle in setting up anything. Disadvantage is that it's quite expensive. Those service apartments can be really burning through your cash quickly in the beginning, especially. So it is not a permanent solution, and also you cannot get a registration with a serviced apartment, usually most of the times. So it is not something that can be a permanent solution, because you are then blocked on other parts of your journey in Germany. But for the beginning, and if you have enough money and you like to live comfortably, then a serviced apartment could be a option for you as well. Number 7, you can live in an Airbnb apartment. The advantages are, of course, obvious. You have a place to stay, relatively flexible. You can look for a place that can house you for as long as you want to stay. The prices can be actually quite low if it's maybe just a room in a place. So you can get by relatively cheap sometimes, but still, of course, more expensive than any shared flat or anything like this. But at least you have a place to stay. You don't have to worry about setting up anything, internet, water, everything already taken care of. Drawback is that you cannot probably afford it for a long period of time, and you cannot register with an Airbnb at the local city, So you cannot go forward with other things because you don't have the registration from the city. So Airbnb as well a temporary solution for the beginning. You can meet cool people. That's also an advantage, but probably not something that you want to rely on for the midterm, and definitely not for the long term. Option number 8, you can buy a flat or a house. So there are, of course, people who say, okay, I want to come here with my family. I have some disposable income. I know I want to be here for a longer period of time. Then, of course, you can come to Germany and, of course, also purchase a house or a flat before you come here. There are also websites, portals where you find houses and apartments that are for sale. That is probably the least practical solution for the majority of people. However, if you are one of the people who can afford to do that, you're always free to do so. And there are also great websites that calculate which kind of apartment you can or house you can afford with your disposable income, and if you need any kind of bank loan or something like this. But probably a very small proportion of people for whom that actually is the best option in the beginning. However, if you're watching and you are one of them, then yes, please feel free to get a nice apartment house for you and your family. So let's quickly recap the finding an apartment section. Finding an apartment is super crucial because you need a place to stay. Everyone does. You need a place to register, so you can go forward with many other things in your life. Your life can basically not start in some ways if you don't have a place that you are officially registered at. There are plenty of opportunities or things or options that you can have to find a place. There are options that are more flexible, short term for the beginning to get the first days with a relaxed place where you can stay, but they are not really meant for a mid or longer term solution. While you live there, though, you can make sure that you are looking at more longer term solutions for your stay, which would be a shared flat or maybe a student flat. In some cases, also your own flat. So these are the options that you should be aiming for at some point. If in the beginning you don't have a place already, don't panic. There are options that give you some flexibility and some breathing room early on. So this is a interesting topic, a challenging topic, not only for people coming to Germany, also for Germans themselves. Everyone is always looking for a nice place to stay. So I hope this video gave you some idea of what it's like right now. There is also more information on the dedicated on finding apartment on the dedicated page of the app, so you can also check that out and get some more information. And I hope this was useful for you and that your spark of inspiration has been lit to now take the next step into your journey into Germany.